Okay, good morning everybody and welcome. Today we are talking about the sixth chapter of Bodhicaryavatara, which is on patience, the paramita of patience. Last two chapters were on the chapter paramita of Sila, paramita of discipline or whatever you want to call it. And the patience is regarded important, very important, because the negative emotion of anger and hatred is regarded one of the worst emotions of all negative emotions. In one sutra of Buddha, he said that usually three main negative kind of state of mind, like sometimes called mind poisons or kleshas, sometimes 5 kleshas, are explained, and out of these, the main 3 kleshas, ignorance, attachment, and anger. So it is said that ignorance is like the ground, which is the basic cause or basics, source of samsaric state of mind. And therefore it's very, very, very important, because it's the main cause. And if there is, as long as there is ignorance, we could be in samsaric state of mind. And when there is no ignorance, then we are not in the samsaric state of mind. But it is also very difficult to get rid of, because it's the very basic thing. But it is not so emergent, it's not an emergency problem, because it is, it's like the background, and it is there like earth. Then there is attachment, and that is also very important, because of attachment also hatred and anger and hurt feeling and all kind of things happen. But it has also some good side and some bad side. It's not always completely negative. But anger and hatred is something that, it is said that the attachment is like water. It is, you get in there, and then, the water gets in, it kind of floods your room, and then, it kind of spreads everywhere, and it affects lots of things, and it makes lots of difficulties, it causes lots of difficulties, but, and also it's difficult to get rid of, but it is not as bad or as emergently bad as anger and hatred, because, it has some positive side also, and some negative side. But anger and hatred, especially hatred, it is said there is, it's like fire. It burns It burns yourself, it burns others that you are angry with or angry against, hatred against, and then, everything else around is also affected and burned. So that's why it is said, that all the good, the first stanza of this says, good works gathered in 1,000 ages, such as deeds of generosity or offering to the blissful ones, a single flash of anger shatters them. Like if a very strong anger or hatred, comes and takes over you, then you can do some very terrible things. You can hurt lots of people. You can do some very harmful things that you can harm lots of people. You can harm yourself. You can get rid of all the positive things just because you are under the influence of strong and uncontrollable hatred or anger, even for a short time. So therefore, it is very, repeatedly taught that we have to be very careful about anger and hatred. And so therefore, it is often said that because hatred is so harmful to yourself and others, now and in the long run, so therefore patience is one of the most important positive emotions or positive actions. And therefore to train in patience is one of the most important trainings. Now this chapter is quite actually long and quite elaborate, but the main thing, that we talk about three different kinds of, you can call it patience. One is forbearance, another is tolerance, and then another, the kind of most important to train with. All of them are important, but is, maybe we can call it patience, that getting, not trying to control our anger and especially hatred. So the first forbearance is that to learn and train ourselves that we are not completely or easily disturbed or shattered or too badly affected by some small problems or difficulties or hindrances or things like that. Because sometimes we have a small problem or small kind of a obstacle or some little that we don't like, and then we take it very seriously or sometimes too seriously, and then it can cause lots of negative feelings, lots of pain, lots of unhappiness, lots of stress, lots of anxiety, lots of worries, and also anger. This is important because generally it's not how much we are affected how much negatively affected we are, how much, we are hurt, or how much we feel sad, or how much we feel bad, or how much we are, upset, is not always because of how big the problem is, but many times it's the way we react to it. Sometimes even a small problem or small hindrance can actually make us very upset and very, disturbed and things like that. So therefore, we need to learn that, we have to see that, that there's some problems, but this problem, if we try to compare it with what others are having, we can look at the life and see that, there are lots of this kind of problems anyway, everywhere. So we need to learn to kind of forbear them and, try to kind of find a way that these hindrances or difficulties or problems doesn't totally, make us disparate or, anxious or unhappy or, because we can also see there are some good things happening, and also, this thing is something that can be overcome. That's why sometimes it is said, and this is, I think, this of course is something that applies to all three, but this one is a quotation which is regarded very important. Even His Holiness Dalai Lama says that this helped him so much, and that is that if something happens and annoys us or makes us disturbed, then we see whether there is something we can do to change that, or to remedy that, or to solve that problem or not. And if we find that there is, of course, something we can do about that problem, we can change that situation, we can overcome that hindrance or whatever that is, then, there is no need to be so upset about that, so, so affected by that, so angry about that, so sad about that, because rather than being sad and being, unhappy and being angry and, spend all these times on that, we should just go and take actions and try to make that problem, change or go away or remedy that. And if we find that there is nothing we can do, this is something that happens and then, there is nothing we can do, then we try to understand that since there is nothing we can do at this moment, so therefore, it's useless to be so unhappy and so disturbed and so, so we just, focus our mind on other things that we can do that would be useful, that would be, that would improve some things in our life or in others' lives. So therefore, just, because there is nothing we can do about that, so it's no use to get so much, occupied our mind all the time with that thing. So this way, and of course there is always, problems and difficulties and, coming. But sometimes these difficulties or these problems or these hardships can actually, be used for something useful, sometimes it is said that if there are, you face lots of problems in life, then you can find you can understand life, and why you are, and make us make us clearly see how important for us to try to change our state of mind, and what we call renunciation. It brings renunciation. Renunciation, as you know, means that this this state of mind that we have, the samsaric state of mind we have, or whatever a situation we have, this I need to change. I need to transform. Unless I transform that, however I try, it will not bring, everything will not be okay. Everything will not be solved. Everything will not become completely, good all the time. So therefore, I must work on this. So it can actually help me to bring my mind to the practice of Dharma, or to try to transform myself and focus on that. So if that happens, then that problem became not an obstacle, but actually kind of a push towards the right direction. And in this is just one example, but there could be lots of things like that. So therefore, a little bit of forbearance is, training in that is important. The second is tolerance. In tolerance, what is meant is that, we are most of the time very our mind is kind of narrow. So this is the way I like. This has to be like this, and some other opinions, some other ways, some other views, some other way of doing things, some other way of, other philosophies, our cultures, our other, something that is different, we cannot, we cannot accept, we cannot understand. So, if something that is not what we used to do, or we think they are right, is different in other people's way of thinking, or way of doing, or way of looking, or way of whatever, then we feel not right, we feel not good, we feel, superior or inferior or whatever. Now that is something, the tolerance here is that we should try to make our mind a little bit broader, more accommodating. Because there can be, lots of different thoughts, different philosophies, different way of saying things, different type of people, different culture, different belief system and things like that. And, it doesn't need to be exactly the way, same as my way of thinking, my way of belief, because if somebody, believes in something that is useful for that person, then that's good. That's good enough. It doesn't have to be same as mine. So therefore, when I need to train myself so that I can also broaden my mind, so that I can accept those things. I can accept the differences. I can accept varieties. I can accept, and sometimes even learn from them. So if I do that, then, my mind becomes bigger. I can learn much more. I can become much more, accommodating, much more peaceful, much more friendly, much more, compassionate to all other people in different kind of ways and things like that, which could actually bring lots of good to me. And, I could also do lots of good to other people because I learn. I learn from all these different things. So therefore, to try to, this is one of the patience, is to, not to be, not to become too kind of small-minded, or not to be too kind of, I don't know what you call it, maybe sectarian, or one way of thinking, only believe in one thing and then reject everything, and not like that. It is okay to have your own, belief, your own understanding, your own, view or whatever, and you can, follow that, you can believe in that, you can, practice that, you can whatever, but that doesn't mean that that could be understood, or could be good, or could be useful, or could be, that everybody can do the same or should do the same. So therefore, this tolerance is very important. Most of the problems in the world sometimes come from this. Sometimes even very good people, generally very good people, very kind people, very nice people, do lots of negative things and lots of harmful things towards the other people, just because they have a very limited and very narrow mind, and they think that everybody should accept that, everybody should follow that. And so therefore they try to impose those ideas and those thoughts on others, maybe with a good intention, but, mainly because of your own ignorance, because you cannot accept that, because you don't understand that, because your mind is too small. So therefore it's very dangerous. So therefore, try to open your mind. Try to, that's one kind of patience, the tolerance. Then the third kind of patience is that, this is very important, that we get upset, we get angry, we get hateful, because something is happening, or somebody does something, or does not do something that we want it to be done. Sometimes, I don't want to be harmed. So if somebody seems to be harming me, I get angry. I want to be, helped, or I want to be happy. So if somebody seems to be, obstructing my happiness or something like that, or my, whatever I want to achieve, then I get angry, And or somebody's, saying something that would harm my project or myself, or somebody is saying something that, or many different things like that. And if somebody is, harming my people, and some people helping my enemies, or doing something good for people who I don't like. So all this kind of, there, if you look at the commentary of this, there are so many, there's more than 140 or something like that, different reasons why you get angry and upset, and also bring hateful. Now, all of them, is basically, that we don't want to be hurt, and we want to be happy. And my people, I don't want them to be hurt, and I want them to be happy. So now, when we, and then get angry. And when I get angry, and then the anger, if I keep it, just a little bit of anger, just lose my temper kind of anger, is not that harmful. But if I hold it, and then I keep it means I repeatedly, think about it. Yes, this is very bad. This is really bad. And then it becomes hatred. And when that hatred, if I hold on to that, then it's very harmful. First, it's very harmful to myself. And this is something very important from Buddhist point of view, that, why I should not get angry and keep on angry and keep on hatred is basically, it's harmful to myself. Because if I keep this anger or hatred in myself, it is not possible that I am happy, because I can't be peaceful. And when I am not in peace, if I am disturbed, I can't be happy. So the more I am angry, the more I am hateful, the more I am hurt, the more I actually hurt myself. But the real reason why I am angry, or I am unhappy, or I hate, is because I want to be happy. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be disturbed. But by getting angry and upset and, hateful, actually I do exactly the opposite of what I want. Somebody might have said something to you, and then you get angry, and you keep that anger, and you keep that negative feeling, for a long, long time, maybe sometimes for life. But that person might have even forgotten what he said or what she said, But you keep on that, and you suffer all the time, And that's not good for me, So therefore, to understand very clearly that to keep anger, keep hatred is absolutely not good for me, because as long as I keep this anger and keep this hatred, I can't be happy. I can't be in peace. I will be not in a good shape. And that's why I should not. And it is, sometimes you feel, most of the time that anger comes, it comes as if it is your friend. Yeah, this person did this thing, this person said this thing, so therefore, I should be angry so that, I can do something to harm them or hurt them or do something against them. But, the more we keep it, the more we hurt ourselves. It's not, these negative emotions are not our friend, and never our friend. That's the main understanding from Buddhist point of view. So therefore, the more quickly I can let go of them, the better it is for me. If I want to do something to change the situation, if somebody harmed me or did something wrong, and that is not to say that I should not change that. If I can, I should change that. I should get rid of that, whatever problem they gave us. But, not keep this anger and hatred and things like that, because that would not help me, and that would not help anybody actually. Because anger is seen, as I said before also, like a fire. So if you put a fire, if you put on the fire, the fire burns whatever you want to burn, but also itself, the things that actually makes the fire, like the wood or coal or whatever, it burns itself. It burns whatever we are trying to burn, and it burns everything around it also. So in the same way, if you keep on hatred and anger, of course you will try to harm that person or those people that you are angry with or hate towards. You at least try to do some harm to them, of course, as much as possible. But sometimes even more than harming them, you harm yourself. You could harm more yourself than your what we call adversary or enemy or whatever. And not only that, but if you are angry, if you are in the angry kind of state of mind, and if your anger is not in control and hatred is kept in, then even people around you, your friends, your family members, can be affected by your anger. And as long as you are in an angry state of mind, nobody is comfortable around you. So it's harming yourself, it's harming people around you, it's harming people that you want, that you see as your enemy. So and then not only that, but the worst thing is it makes you yourself in that state. You create what we call karma. It's just this, like if I get angry and upset and I'm in that state of mind, more regularly, then my next moment and my next life and my, is created in that way, because that's karma is nothing more than actually, habitual tendencies. So if I'm more angry and more upset and more hateful and then I will become like that. I will become like that. I become easily angry, more violent, more aggressive, more kind of, always kind of in a negative state of mind, see everybody as my enemies, things like that. And that creates negative realms, and things like that. So it's very bad for me in the long run also. So therefore, to realize that, to recognize that is very important. I think that's the most important, because most of the people think that to get angry is good, because that gives you some kind of energy. And many times you think, at least your ego tells you, that it's for a good reason, it's for a kind of good purpose and things like that. So therefore, then you tend to get angry and again and again and again, and then you become a very angry and hateful person, and sometimes violent, and and then it makes you like that, and it harms you so much. So therefore, anger doesn't help. Sometimes people think that, without getting angry, how can you fight for the justice? How can you fight for the justice? From Buddhist point of view, you don't need to get angry. Actually, to anger is the not good good energy, but actually it's a useless energy, because it is said that when you see something going wrong, say like injustice happening, you can have two things. Either you can be compassionate or you can be angry. Anger and compassion both arises from the same situation, that you see something that's not right. Now, if something is happening that is not right, that's not just, and then, you say, this is not right, this is not just, this person is doing that, this person is bad, or those people are bad, I must do something against them. Then anger arises, hatred arises, and then you try to do something that will harm those people or that person. And then until you can do that, you keep on anger. But when you are angry, the energy is like flame. It goes up like a flame, one. But as soon as, after a very short time, it goes down. And then you are flat. So the energy that comes out of anger is very short-lived. And even when this energy is high, there is no, the reasoning power is lost, because the anger takes away this reasoning power. So therefore, whatever you do in an angry mode, you overdo it. And there is hardly any person who can do or say something that they don't have to regret afterwards if they do it or say it under the power of anger. But at the same time, if you see something that's wrong, and then you say, this should not happen. This should not happen. Something has to be done so that, this has to change, this has to stop. Now when that state of mind arises, then you are not trying to harm somebody, you're trying to change a situation. Trying to do something that is good for the people who are doing that negative thing, as well as those who are who are enduring that negative action. So that is compassion, because you want to help, you want something positive happening. You want to stop people doing negative things, and you want to stop people having, imposed or done something unjust. And with that motivation, with that emotion, if we do something, then that is with compassion, and that energy is not like anger. It just goes up like a flame and goes off. That energy is consistent, and you can do it without hating anybody, without having any negative, what can you say, without wanting to harm anybody. You want to help everybody, and that's regarded from Buddhist point of view as the best way of fighting even for unjust, because you can do it for a long time, and we can do it with your full attention, without having any negative thoughts and negative emotions. You can do all kind of positive things, even to help the people who are doing, because most of the people who do negative things, and who are angry and upset, they're not angry and upset. And, nobody is angry because they are happy. think it's very important to understand that if somebody is angry, we should understand that that person is unhappy. Something happened that disturbs his mind or her mind, and he is not in a good situation, not in a happy situation. He has lots of pain and problem from whatever is happening, and that's why. So therefore, when we see somebody angry or in a negative state of mind, it's not so difficult to understand that that person is a difficult situation. So he or she is object of our compassion, object that, if possible, we should help, because, is in a difficult situation, not in a good situation, not in a happy situation. So if we understand that, then there's nothing to get angry and upset. We need to help, we need to, whatever maybe problem is, we don't know sometimes exactly, but So therefore, then we try to, with this understanding. Now this understanding is very important, because it's not talking about just to kind of, don't get angry, means, I'm very angry but I don't express it. Not that kind of a thing. You really try to understand it in such a way that we don't have any reason to feel angry, but feel, try to understand the problems of everybody. Try to, and even if people, of course there are some people who do negative things and do very harmful things to other people, without any good reason. But for them also, to understand that the more I'm upset and more I'm hateful and more I'm angry, it's not good for me. So therefore, I need to try to let go of that as much as possible, and then train. Train in many different ways, to try to understand, try to, work on my, when you deeply understand that this anger and hatred is neither good for me, nor good for others, not good for anybody, then, it is not so difficult, because, every emotion is temporary. Our emotions are very strong, very, very strong, when it is, it's totally, like ablaze. But, it changes very quickly. Actually, no anger or hatred even remains the same for a long period of time, So therefore, if we can wait a little bit, if we can, allow us to not react immediately, but give some time, it changes. Our emotion changes. And when we know that our emotion can change very quickly, then there is no reason why we cannot wait for a short time. And then after this kind of flare-up of the emotion is settled, then we can think and find out, what is the best way to act and react, which is good for me, good for everybody, and then follow that situation. So of course, when there is anger, it comes back again and again. It can come back because, we have been upset, we have been angry, we have hatred, we have aversion, we have all these things for a long, long time. We are samsaric being. It's not that once we could, let go of anger, that we are completely free from anger. It's not like that. But if we can do that for one time or a short period of time, then we get a little bit of understanding, a little bit of confidence that actually I can do that. So I can do that again and I could. And the more I can do that, the more I feel, because I feel myself happier. I feel myself much more peaceful, much more, joyful, So when we know that, when we can, experientially understand that, then there is no reason why I should not train on that. I should not, try to bring that experience again and again and again. And if we do that, that's, from Buddhist point of view, that's understood as the most important Dharma practice. It's also Dharma practice. It is also meditation. There's no all other things like recitations and visualizations and all kind of trainings, and all are actually to bring that situation. So therefore, it's similar and same as any other good, positive, strong Dharma practice. So I think I should stop here, and this is of course this is a long chapter, so you can actually read the chapter. There's a commentary also, a few different commentaries. Then you will of course understand much more clearly. But at this time I think I should stop here, and if you have any questions, you are most welcome.
Very much, Rinpoche. We've some questions here.
Yeah.
Relating to practice, very much on the points that you've just been making. There's one saying, could you speak about purifying negative karma created when we get angry at someone? And the person refers to Vajrasattva practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The person is referring to Vajrasattva practice as a possibility here, but then says, when we are doing this, what are we purifying? Is it that single instance of negative karma, or the tendency or habit of being angry when that situation arises again?
Yeah, I think we are trying to transform our way of reacting, completely, as much as possible. And of course, when we try to purify, one thing is said to be like, if we have, say, like we have been, if we did something wrong, if we did something negative, then to try to recognize that. That's the important first thing. That if I'm getting angry again and again, or I'm keeping in hatred, then I try to understand that this is not good for me, this is not good for others, this is not good for now, this is not good for the long run. So that recognition, realization of that is the first step, Because if you don't recognize that or realize that, then there is nothing to purify. You cannot purify because you see that this is a good thing for you, and then you will not give it up. Yeah. So the first is that, what we call sometimes we call it regret, but to really recognize the negative side of that. Then what you do is, then you try to make a kind of decision that because it is not good for me and not, so I would try not to do that again. I will try to do that less in the future, to make a strong kind of decision. That kind of decision or commitment or, kind of creating willpower, that's important. That's another thing. then you do something positive, instead of anger and hatred, you try to be more kind, more compassionate, more, do something that is helping, or things like that. And there, sometimes you use like in of course this is not it's a Vajrayana thing, Vajrasattva practice, things like that. But in Vajrasattva practice, then you try to think of an enlightened being, like Vajrasattva, or whoever, somebody who is completely, completely compassionate, completely, wise, and all the positive, qualities, so that you feel the energy of that, you feel the presence of that, you feel somebody who has, absolute, limitless, and unbiased compassion to everybody, and you feel that. You feel that, and you feel that energy in yourself, and you feel that energy going and to everybody. Like that's what we call blessing. Yeah, that it is that feeling or that energy or that experience is pervading you and everybody, and so that everybody feels like that. So this is instead of holding on to the anger and hatred and all the negative things, we try to feel the opposite of that, the energy of enlightened beings. That's mainly the practice. Like a Vajrasattva practice, we feel the Vajrasattva's experience, energy, blessing, not only for ourselves, but to everybody. Even for our worst enemies and things like that. So that's so that we try to kind of cultivate that feeling of Vajrasattva in myself. That's what we call purification, because purification, actually there is nothing to be purified. It's just changing our habit and changing our way of being.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. There's another question really coming from the Vajrayana perspective, or maybe not so much the Vajrayana perspective, but someone looking at Vajrayana images. And I think the assumption here is if the removal or the elimination training to let go of anger that arises out of ignorance is so central to Buddhist training, then what is the meaning of wrathful deity images? What kind of anger is Mahakala expressing?
This is, this is called, this is called, like, say like you are angry, and you are, you make yourself more and more angry and very completely angry. And instead of, looking at somebody who is angry, who to whom you are angry, you look at the anger itself, anger itself. And when you are full of anger and you are, kind of flaming with anger, burning with anger, you look at that, and then you find that, the anger is not there, something totally solid and totally, there. If you allow your anger to be totally there and you kind of relax in that, the anger dissipates. There is nothing called anger. So this is a kind of a method. This is another method of using the anger as object of our meditation to to make anger not, what can you say, to become less attached to anger, because sometimes, in a general way, if you tell somebody, don't get angry, then you kind of, why can't I get angry, like this. But if you, okay, you just get angry, but, you allow your anger to be whatever anger, then actually you can't get too much angry because, there's a limitation, and then anger kind of, you don't find something to hold on as anger anyway. So, then you get tired of the anger actually, and you are, if you're told, get angry, you can't get really angry. Don't get angry, then you sometimes get a little bit difficult to let go. So this is just another method, I think.
Very much. The next question is also about a method. It's saying, what if we really have a very strong attachment towards something and we become very impatient very quickly and obsessive regarding the thing that we're strongly attached to? What's the best way of training our minds in letting go and becoming more patient?
All these all these emotions, there are actually many different ways. Buddha taught lots of different things, but all they are kind of subsumed into three different ways. First is to let go, like to let your mind rest and relax, and then let go. So sometimes they say, become like a log. So you kind of, if you find that your mind is too much attached or too much craving or too much anger or whatever, then you just, that this is, you are going to be kind of taken over by this emotion, and that will create problem for you and others. Then you just relax and, maybe just focus your mind on breathing or something else like that. And then after some time, you find that actually you have, you are not that attached, There is something attachment, but, your focus has changed, so you are not, that strong. So this, to do that again and again, can also change. And of course, this needs, the understanding first, because, too much attachment is not good for you, not good for anybody else. And, however much you are attached to something or somebody, actually you cannot hold on to anybody or anything. I want this, but, even if you had that, that you would not be so kind of as happy or as satisfied, as, happy that you think you would become, So we are attached to something, we go, after it, and then we make lots of efforts and we get it. And when we get it, after some time, we want something else. And then, we are not that attached to what we want, So therefore, attachment is a feeling of not content, not happy, So it's not going to actually make you happy. So these understandings are important, and then you can, so that's the first. The second way is, to transform, they call it transform. That is like, when we have some lots of attachment, and then, as like, same as you talk about Vajrasattva practice, you allow your mind to focus on, like feeling something different, something positive, something not attached, but, compassion, complete compassion to everybody, like Shenrezig practice or something like that. So you are not, I want this, not, but I'm fully, loving and kind and compassionate, and totally this, to become embodiment of loving kindness towards everybody equally. Try to become like that, and when you that become, then there's no one thing you are so much attached to. When you are attached to everybody, you are not attached to anything in a way, but you have completely compassion. So this is something what we call, transforming. Then the third is, understanding. Understanding that particular, not that only one different, but, any emotion, like what we said about the anger and, the wrathful deity. You look at the anger or attachment itself, that emotion of attachment itself, not to what you are attached to. Because, most of the time, when we are whatever, angry or attached or jealous or whatever, we look out, So this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is, good, this is bad. So instead of doing that, if I look at the face of that emotion itself, really deeply and naturally, and then you also find that this is just another, this is, all the emotions in our mind are like, like clouds, like bubbles, like waves, rising and going and rising and going. It's not something separate from myself, not something separate from. It just arises and dissolves. So when I know that, then deeply, if I understand this, then I can, whatever emotions arise, I can take it, in my stride. It doesn't harm me. It doesn't kind of overpower me. It doesn't, I can let it come, let it go, and let it come, and let it go, and it's okay. And when I know that, then these emotions become much weaker than myself, It's not something that it holds me or it controls me. I don't have to do what the emotion says, I can allow the emotions to come and go, and and it always comes and it always goes, and so therefore it's just an natural flow. So therefore it's not something that I have to fight with. So therefore this understanding. So these are the three different methods.
Very much indeed, Rinpoche. The next two or three questions, I think, in the wonderful advice you've just given, they're really answered. But the next two or three really are about, I suppose, the problem that many of us feel about finding ways to move on in the moment of being hurt or upset, and there's that rise to react in anger, and moving on. I mean, for me, I think the three methods that you've been talking about, especially for some meditation beforehand when you're not angry, and then trying your methods actually in practice may be an answer. But you may want to say some more about that.
And that's the important is the mindfulness, that many times we go through the daily life, and then things happen, and then something happens, and we get upset, and we get angry, and we get all kind of things, and then we react at that very moment, and sometimes we don't even know what we said or what we did at that moment because it's very quick and things like that. So now the best way is that we become a little bit more mindful. That's why mindful is so important, that we catch what we are doing. We become aware that if I'm getting angry, or if something is happening, and then you said, "Oh, this is happening. Now I'm getting hurt. Now I'm upset. Now I'm going to do something or say something or react in a way that would be hurtful or harmful to somebody else." And then if I know that at that time, then I could stop that, and I could do something else. I could change that. But most of us doesn't have that much mindfulness, and so then if we happen to say or do something at that moment, I think it is important that in reflection afterwards we find that that was not the right way. Then we try to stop there and try to say sorry, or try to whatever, change that, and at least even if we have done something that is that's done, then we try to not keep that anger or hatred or as much as possible. I think that's very important. One is to be able to be mindful and learn to react with a proper kind of awareness. That's the first thing. If we can do that, that would save lots of problems, and that's actually the training. The training of mindfulness, training of meditation, training of awareness, training of the first two, the last two chapters we talked about is about that. To be aware, to be mindful, to be careful. This is also about that. So if we can do that, that is most wonderful. If we can't do that, then at least not hold on to that, but let it go. So that's, I think, the most important thing.
Very much indeed, Rinpoche. I think that covers. We're now at 13:11. It covers most of our questions. There's one that's just come in that's talking about what about the past hurts that repeatedly come up in meditation, and how best to let them go. So this is not the situation where we find ourselves actually angry in the moment, but where we may be in meditation and open, some past stimulus comes up which makes us angry, or about which we were very angry at the time. How best to let go when in formal practice like that?
I think it is, whether in practice or whether in our life, most of our, bad feelings or negative feelings or comes because of the past. We think about somebody so and so did that, so and so said that, so and so, this happened, that happened, and then we kind of, we feel emotions about that. So this is important, and that's why we need to learn to what we call, forgive or let go. The first thing is that what happened is happened. Yeah. So we cannot go there and fix it. Whether I did something wrong myself, I cannot go back and change it. Whether somebody did something wrong also, I cannot go there and make it, he or she cannot change it. It's gone. So that understanding, I think, important, that past is past and it is gone and I cannot get it back. So I have to let it go. And the more I let it go, then the more it's called forgiveness, because forgiveness is, this happened, this is not good, but I decide that I don't hold on to that. That's forgiveness, I wish good for the people, I wish good for myself, I wish, whatever happened is happened, so therefore I just let it go. So I think letting the past, whatever negative things happened to me or I did, if I let it go, then, because there is no other way, even, I cannot go there and do something. So that's why if I can let it be like that, if I forgive others, forgive myself, then I think I don't have to feel anger, I don't have to feel hatred, I don't have to feel also, too much, what we call it, I feel guilty. You don't have to feel guilty also. So, I think this is very important. If I want, or if I like, I can say some mantras. If I can make a dedication, and I can make some positive prayers and things like that, and then let it go. I think that's the important thing. Whether it comes in my meditation, whether it comes in my daily life, whatever.
Thank you very much indeed, Rinpoche. Thank you very much. Thank you for an excellent talk on the chapter. Thank you very much for your wonderful advice and indeed your own patience. And much look forward to seeing you. It's not next week, but the week after next, when we'll be looking at perseverance, or as in the Padmakara title is called Heroic Perseverance.
Yes. Usually we call it diligence, but that's also
Diligence.
Good. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, and very nice to see all of you. Thank you so much, and see you again. Thank you.